Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab, and also welcome to our weekly live stream where we're going to talk about all the newest stuff that's coming to the game. And honestly, this one should be pretty fun, man. So today's topics, we're going to talk a little bit about Alliance HQ. Earlier today in the newsletter, Space Ape announced that it is indeed coming next week. So we'll take a look at what to expect. I know Space Ape has already showed it off a little bit on their streams, so maybe we can get into a little bit more of the particulars, what to expect and what not to expect. Um, I also want to talk a little bit about the next endurance spot. And that's right, for you guys on the Decepticon side, we're going to get the leader of the DJD. You're getting Tarn coming to the game. And for those of you on the Autobot side, you're going to be getting Alpha Trion. So we'll take a look at that, see if it is a bot that is worth you going for that 4-star or that 5-star. I also got a bot pairing request. So my moderator, Mercenary Terrier, put one in there last week. I told him I'd get to it this week. I didn't forget you for once. So I got a bot pairing request that I'm going to go run for a little bit. And I was going to talk about just playtest as a whole, some of the changes that we've been making, some of how the relationships are kind of changing a little bit with the Space Ape staff. It's actually really been in a positive direction. So we'll talk about some of those things as well. But before we do any of that, let's go take a look at this week's newsletter. And we'll take a little bit of a look at this week's event. So this week's event is called The Perfect Storm. It's week 6 of the saga. And in the United States, we're going to be celebrating Independence Day, which technically, I had to take a look at my calendar. I think technically it's on Tuesday. Or it's on Monday. Yeah, technically it's on Tuesday. But Space Ape made this event a little bit of a shorter event uh, because of Independence Day weekend. Usually a big deal for us, and they always go through their red, white, and blue crystals too, and those usually got some pretty good stuff in them. So this weekend's event, short and sweet, 10K. Um, it is individual, and some of the prizes that you can get red striped crystals, which each is going to contain either 155 star shards, 15K a combiner spark, or 5 red crimsics. The white stripes will contain either 1,004 star shards, 15K spark, or 5 white crimsic. And then the blue ones will contain either 305 star combat shards, 15K a combat spark, or 5 blue crimsic. And then you also going to have just all kinds of other goodies. So they're talking about star chests, 3 star shards, premium shards, and a lot of alloy and energon. So overall, pretty good prizes for a really short event, if we're being honest. Um, the drop rates, if they are true for the start chest, um, actually look pretty good. Not going front on you. So you got 27% odds for the combiner spark, combat spark, or regular spark. You get 5%. Actually, they. I didn't catch that earlier when they did the draft. They actually had combiner spark. Oh, so it's bigger amounts. So you get 5, so you can get 5% chance for 5,000 of the combiner spark, combat spark, or regular spark, and then a 1% chance to get uh, a hundred K. So overall, not too bad. And then you get a 5 star shark. You can get a 1% chance at 1,000 of those. So hopefully I can pull like 1 or 2 of those. That'd be dope. Let's see, typical battle zones. And there's also going to be an Independence Day bundle. So they're going to be running sales on those where you can get some premium combat chips, premium crystal start chest, and then red, white, and blue crystals. Um, Not really sure I'm feeling the values. I'd rather get more red, white, and blue crystals. And the star value, the star chest value is not bad. Then the rest of it's just combat chips and premium crystals. So decent bundle if you're in the buying bundles. All right, so we got winners for the art competition. So Oki actually won. He got some. Actually, yeah, I really like that. I really like the artwork he got there. Look like he got Ramjet and who was that? RC. Yeah, RC. Avenger Prime won the toy collection. Actually, dude, this is only one picture of the toy collection. He actually showed me the entire collection earlier. Avenger Prime, obviously one of my good friends from playtest, and I just didn't get a chance to upload the pictures in time because he actually has like 4 more pictures to this thing, man. Like his collection is ridiculous. So shout out to those guys for winning that. Especially Avenger Prime, a good friend of mine I talk to on a regular basis. As always, check out all of your content creators, your official ones listed here: Engineer Horace, myself, Soldier, and Sunstreaker Waza. In addition to a lot of the other really, really good unofficial content creators, Mercenary Terror, who's my moderator, he's in the chat, always churning out some pretty good stuff. Um, let's see, Deception to Punish and Enslave. He's got a lot of good stuff. He's starting to make content again, and always really, really informative. Just Elite got some good stuff for both Transformers and non-Transformer related content. Just really, 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 really cool stuff out there. So check those guys out. Community corner here. We got let's see, Freeway 0827. Got some really nice artwork there. And then let's see, Slate Prime #1 got Ultra Magnus. That's actually really cool. I like that. I like that artwork right there. And next week, Space Ape is going to be on their live stream. It'll be Thursday, the 6th of July. So make sure you tune into that. They do it once a month these days. And yeah, man, that is it for the news for this week. So let's flip over to the battlefield real quick. And while I'm doing that, we'll take a look at the chat. We got my good friend Lord Avix, who is first into the chat. Mercenary Terror, my moderator, and also good friend, is in there as well. And then uh, all my good buddies in there. Chris Harmon's in there again, one of my alliance mates in the Horde as well. Let's see what we got. Speak of the Devil, Venger Prime is in there as well. Thanks for joining. And let's see if I missed anybody. Foxer Bomb, my other moderator, is in the chat as well. Thanks for joining. My friend Big Joe just joined the chat. Thanks for stopping by. And I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to start getting in here and we're going to start talking about Alliance HQ. Like I said in the newsletter, it is coming to the game next week. And so we'll just talk about a little bit about what to expect. So you're going to come in to your Alliance tab and you're going to hit this thing that says Headquarters. And it's going to take you off to your little island where you're going to go to Alliance HQ. So right now, it looks like there are 7 different modules connected to Alliance HQ. And so some of them are not going to be available right away. So like down here at the bottom right, you've got what they call the Strikers Outpost. That's not going to be available to you right away. So each of them are going to have different requirements. This one says you have to have level 3 Rookie Academy required before you actually are able to unlock the Strikers Outpost, which honestly I think that's a pretty strategic move on the part of Space Ape, just because when you look at what the Strikers Outpost does, so this first level is saying, hey, you get a 3% health and DPS bonus for 1 member of your alliance. Now, as you go through, you can actually look at all the different levels. And by the time you get over to level 5, you're going to have striker HP bonus of 15% and DPS for 15%. So this could be a really huge advantage for the Alliance HQ. Big Joe was asking the question, is it coming this week or next week? So the plan is next week is when it's supposed to release. It's supposed to release on the 6th of July. Right now it's in testing. And I'll talk about how testing's been going for a little bit, because there's some things that I'm pleased with, there's some things that I'm displeased with. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. So that's what it looks like as you go through the Strikers Outpost. When I'm looking at it, all it really takes is some smaller donations. Obviously, with the Striker Outpost not being available yet, I'll have to go to another station. So this one is called Mining Station. And the mining station is just going to, simply put, it's going to improve the production rate of your alloy and your energon harvesters. Right now, I got some donations going in and my playtest alliance. And all you have to do is you go up there, you hit this button that says donate, and it gives you options. So in this case, I've got 5 different options. I got a choice between whether I want to give up spark, whether I want to give up alloy, or whether I want to give up energon. For the alloy and energon, it gives me 2 different choices. So I can either give 2800 or I can give 14.8k. For the energon, I can give up 1650 or I can give up 7.9k. For the spark, 200. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just go. I'm going to throw down a larger portion of energon. And as soon as I go in and donate that energon, I get 60 loyalty points. So one of the things that came up during playtest is like, okay, well, what can you do with loyalty points? And Dale came out and he was like, look, you're not getting anything. It's just going to be kind of like how we get medals. Now, granted, medals do come with some prizes at different intervals. They said the loyalty points is going to be kind of like similar to that, but I don't think the plan right now is for them to add any additional prizes or anything for it. It's the way they made it sound is more like a bragging rights thing. So one of the things that we were talking about in playtest is that when you go give donations for these things, um, so the first thing is you can see that as soon as I went in there and make that donation, it's a 16-hour cooldown. Now you can skip it, so I'll go ahead and do that. And on the playtest server, it lets me go back in there and skip. Now I gotta go back and double check. I don't know if it's gonna be that way in the game where you can just continue to just skip. I think it's set up that way for the sole purpose of us being able to do it in playtest. But obviously the donations take quite a bit. So like right here, it's saying for this mining station, you got to do 160 donations total. So if you split that up for an alliance, a full alliance of 40 members, then like to get to the next level from this first one, it'll take about 4 per person. So for the first level, not too bad. I'm not sure if it's going to continue to go up where you have to do more and more donations as time goes on. I think that's probably going to be the case. But like this is what they gave us in playtest. They gave it to us just to kind of look around with. Now, one of my complaints has been, look, we need to accelerate some of this stuff somewhat so that we can see what this looks like with all of the perks. So I'm interested to see what it looks like with an actual war, with being able to assign strikers, with us being able to assign defenders and stuff like that. And we just talking about good content earlier. Soldier just jumped into the chat. Thanks for joining, bro. All right, so now we're looking at the intel room. So that's one that, as it currently stands, will be available right there in the beginning. This is going to increase the alloy and energon taken when you actually are just doing regular farming when you attack a rival player. And so when you look at those, actually, give me a second. I didn't look at the mining station. So for the mining station, these are your values. So the highest that your energon and alloy will increase is at a rate of 10%. And that's just for regular harvesting. When you go to the intel room, then you get up to a 15% bonus once you get to level 5 for just attacking other players. So it'll help you build your XP a little bit faster for your normal battles, your normal farming. All right, we'll flip around. We'll go to the research center. And so this is going to increase your or decrease your research time. The highest it'll get up to is 15%. I think someone in playtest did the math on that, and they said that winds up being like if you're on like say like a 6-day bake or something like that, winds up being like a total of like 12 hours. A lot of people have been complaining about having like a large backlog of bots that they have awaiting research. So this could help a little bit. I would like to see the values be a little bit higher, but what Space Ape did say when we were talking to them in playtest, they were saying that they may add different levels as we go along through Alliance HQ. So just like anything else, just like how we get different HQ levels, Alliance HQ may add levels to different modes. And there's a lot of different ideas that are thrown around in playtest that Space 8 pretty much says we're not going to do those right now, but they could be a potential for future upgrades to Alliance HQ. All right, so over here on the top left, or the next to the top left, you got the Rookie Academy. And so, simply put, those are guys that you just don't want to be on your defensive war lineup for your alliance. And so, you start off with having one rookie that they call up there, and you can have up to 5 people that you can just say, you know what, never pick this person to be on defense, so you can focus on getting your strongest bases that you have on your team. So at level 5, you get up to pick up the 5 rookies. And there was a little bit of controversy about this one when we were talking about it in playtest, just for the simple reason that, you know, it's just like, hey man, you know, this is a lot. They're thinking a lot of these things aren't really going to be beneficial to top players in the upper leagues. Like when you start looking around, and some of these stations are giving you like extra energon and resources, extra alloy, you know, and it's like, man, we're good on all that stuff, and it's a valid point. Not trying to dispute it, but I was like, anytime you get a chance to go get more anything, then yeah, I'll take it, because you know I don't want to spend a lot of time grinding resources. I don't want to spend a lot of time on you know, like any of that kind of stuff. So I think that it could be some value. I just don't think, for as long as this project has been in work, I don't think that that it's overly exciting at this point. But it could get there, and so I'm curious to see what it looks like when we get there. All right, so we also have what they call a training center, and it says when while fully charged, all Alliance members receive additional XP from PvP, elimination, and event battles. This one I like. This one I like a lot. Um, because we can get up to 25% additional XP. And when you're trying to grind out those higher levels, when you got those level 61 plus bots and you're trying to grind them up so you get an additional 25% XP when it gets to level 5, you can go in there and throw on an XP core on top of that, and you can just gain like massive amounts of XP. So this one I really do like a lot. And even though Space Ape doesn't really plan to go past level 67 yet, it's gonna come one day, and those are gonna be a serious grind when we get to that point. And so I think this, if they do decide to go up, this will probably align with this training center getting to level 5 once everybody's starting to get that. And then this one's the controversial one for me. Defensive operations. Defensive operations is going to allow Alliance leaders to designate special defenders, and they'll be in base 4 of your Alliance wars. So when you start off, you can pick one, and then as you progress, you can go all the way up to level 5, where you can have 3 defenders that you can pick in a rotation to always be in your B4. They'll get additional HP and DPS. So those defenders, when by the time you get to level 5, can have an additional 15%. Now here's the problem that I have with that. So I'm going to go into a base trial real quick, and we're going to take a look at the current war effects. And if I'm going into a hard war battle, and I'm in like Prime League hard mode, you're already getting an additional 15% added to that. So now, so yeah, health and damage for defenses. The outpost bots themselves are going to have 20% more health and 20% more damage. And well, they actually had the health and defenses up there twice. So now you add another 15% on top of that, on top of the fact that we've already got healing clusters, on top of the fact that we already have all of these other things that are going to buff defense. And I just don't know. I just don't know if that's going to be a good idea. We already are saying, hey, you know, in the current meta, like things are kind of difficult, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that the difficulty is appropriate, but now you got to consider that we're adding additional war effects. We're adding in Titan Tech Tree. You're adding in all of these things. You're adding in a strong shield generator. We still got another phase of HQ18. Phase 3 is going to come out. That's going to probably come with like MDS getting upgraded and a couple of other items. Combiner beacon probably gonna get an upgrade, and I just don't know if that's a good idea. But hey, based off of what you've seen so far, let me know in the chat what you think, and I'm gonna actually take a look and see what's going on in the chat. And I see we got Spencer394 joining us again. Thanks for joining. And let's see. Spencer394 says, I would be interested to see if maybe you could do raids in an Alliance War on the Alliance HQ. And he thinks that the Alliance HQ will make Alliance Wars harder. It could be. And the thing is, I think that... So here's my problem with making wars harder. What I've noticed is this. I've noticed that when we were trying to make wars harder in the past, during the HQ 16 and the HQ 17 days, one of the things that I think happened is we started adding war effects, and we started trying to rotate those effects around to try to make them more difficult. So it would kind of put the player base at ease a little bit, especially the top war players. But they adapted to them within like a couple of days in most cases. We started using some of the same content over and over again, and they just adapted to it really easily. So now we've got more permanent changes in place, and the defensive prime cores, and the really strong defenses on HQ 18, and that's more permanent. But you still got some of the temporary stuff lingering around in terms of war effects, in terms of Titan tech tree, so on and so forth. So if you add like another 15% on DPS and then health on top of that, will it be too difficult? I don't know. And that's been my big argument about here. I said, hey, when are we going to get to accelerate all of these Alliance headquarters features? Because, right now, speaking of which, so we wind up losing a lot of playtesters recently, because what happened is Space Ape actually decided to consolidate the Alliance. What's it called? It's called the Alliance Council, and they kind of integrated some of the Alliance Council and the playtest, condensed it down into one, which means we lost some of our experienced playtesters. So the new guys have been doing great, no worry there. But if I'm trying to go test this and try to go get it and use it in a war, which we hadn't had a war with it yet, to kind of balance it and say, hey, the defender ranks need to come down or something. You need to see that in an actual war, and we haven't done that yet. Now, we still got a week, but I'm not sure. So that's one argument, and I'm actually gonna pull up my notes real quick, because there's actually a lot of concerns that the playtesters had. So, and I'm not trying to speak for anybody, but as a whole, some of the complaints that they had was that, so it's just another button to click, right? I got to come in here, and every time I log in, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to go donate, right? Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't particularly have a problem with that. I go in, and log in, and go get all my stuff. It's a 16-hour cooldown. I'm perfectly okay with that, because for me, given like an additional like 8 hours for sleep, that means I'm logging in once a day. I'm probably logging in more than once a day anyway. And it's going to line up really good with my schedule, which is the point that I was making in playtest. But people don't like things that it's just like, oh, I'm just going in there and clicking. For example, the comparison that a lot of the playtesters made was to dispatch missions. But there's two key differences for me from a dispatch mission compared to Alliance HQ. Actually, really three. So if I include the fact that, Alliance HQ, there's going to have some features that affect the entire team. But for, say, I go do a dispatch mission, and I go select my bots, now I'm losing out on those bots. That's a big deal for me. If I'm losing out on being able to use those bots, they are just locked out for a bit. But then I got to think about, well, here are the prizes that I get. I'll go in there, I'll go get a little bit of minimal amount of XP, and we'll get through all the XP I earned for putting those guys in dispatch. Then I'll get something like this. I'll get a little bit of Z Energon, which ain't bad, but you know, for what it takes, I'll get a small loot crate, and I'll go into the small loot crate, and that's Crimson canister. I'll go get these loot crates, and it's like, all right, what am I really getting out of there? That's a cooldown skip. I can't find my small loot crate. You'll get stuff like this. You'll get a battle booster, some spark, you know, enough to open up one premium crystal, medium loot crate. It'll just give you a little bit more, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people just say, you know what, that's not really worth my time to go in there and do that. So when I look at Alliance HQ, now I'm getting like these massive amounts of XP. Once I get through to that level 5, to get all the additional XP, you're gonna have some war buffs, which could be good or bad. I really don't compare that to a dispatch mission, just because the other thing for me, I said it was 3 points. 1 point for me is time. So this particular mission I did is 16 hours. So cool. That stays right along the path with what I was talking about earlier. But then I'm gonna have some that are 12 hours. I'm gonna have some that are 4 days. I'm gonna go to my Autobots. I'm gonna have some that are every 6 hours. So now I'm logging in constantly, trying to keep up with my Autobot dispatch missions and my opposing faction dispatch missions, and then I'm gonna get 4,700 XP, 70 my Z Energon, and a small loot crate. And so a lot of people are just saying it's not worth their time. That's a completely different thing. It's not apples and oranges. I say it's probably like apples and pears when you're trying to compare that. But they say, oh, it's just something you just click. Look, if they would have put another game mode in here that I had to grind and grind and grind, I'd be a little irritated. Especially when, the surveys are saying players are burning out, events are long, we still got Titan, I so a lot of people are maxed out on Titan Assault. I still need to do my Titan Assaults, because one day the 5-star Titan's gonna come. You still got elimination mode. You still got normal farming. You still got wars. You still got raids, events, and dispatch. So I've never really been overly upset about, oh man, I've got to click a button. You know what? Oh, I got to click a button because I want to go get some additional goodies. So I got to click a button. So I want to get, additional XP and resources. Yeah, I'm sorry your life is so hard, to be honest. And that's the kind of point that I was making in playtest. Matt Polly just joined the chat. Thanks for joining. And Foster Bomb makes a good point. These things do add up over time. They do add up. So I do agree with that. It just depends on what kind of player you are. If you're a player that's overly annoyed, they say, oh, this is a meaningless task, then yeah, this is going to irritate you. 100% it is. I'm not going to tell everybody how they feel about the game and how they want to play the game. Alliance HQ will irritate you if you say, oh, this is a meaningless task. 100% it will. If you just look at the end game for it, like I'm kind of looking at the end game piece for it, and I say, yeah, you know what? I do want these items. I do want all of that additional XP. I'll take the Alloy Energon. I do think that that's kind of bland for a prize. But this one was one that really got me. And I'll tell a story real quick because I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. So I had a friend who wanted to join the Horde maybe a few months ago. And he was like HQ 16 at the time. All of our alliances were HQ 17. So he got up to HQ 17, the very first day of HQ 17. And HQ 18 came out. like that, like right away. So then it's like this guy is really, really good on offense, does all the right strategies, has all the correct bots, just does everything really, really well on offense. I would love nothing more than go pull him into the Alliance family, and he's one level under. You know, right now he's at HQ 17, while we're at HQ 18, and just say, hey, stick him into the rookie academy. He's gonna do great on offense, and you know what? Now you got another player. You know, we're talking about recruiting and everything being real bad. Well, if you got offensive weapons that aren't going to hurt you on defense, ultimately that's a good thing, right? So that's what I'm looking at. Chris Harmon says, my thing is not everyone wars the same. Wars are pushed by top players, but we shouldn't cater to the top few guys. They want new players. Well, if players get frustrated with the wars, then they will leave. And that's a really, really valid point, bro, because players at the top level get things all the time, and it goes in waves, right? I want to say all of last year was about the mid tier player, in my opinion, was just some of the things that we get in the game. Now with HQ 18, it's like, hey, you guys want harder wars? Here's your harder wars. And Space Ape openly admitted, you know, Dale came in and chat the other day, and he openly admitted, he said, yeah, this does tilt a little bit towards the lower and mid tier players, but you know, ultimately, and this is me speaking, not Dale, but ultimately, I mean, that's a good thing, like, because exactly what Chris just said. You do want to entice other players to come into the game. Now, we did have the conversation in playtest. Well, who's really going to be enticed by this? Is it the mid-tier player? I mean, possibly. I mean, look at some of the problems that they're facing. They're still trying to upgrade. They got to do all this farming. I remember when I was in lower tier alliances, you had guys that wouldn't hit the wars because they wanted to farm, because they were trying to get through their upgrades faster. This can help. And to Chris's other point, you do got to look out for everyone. So, nah, I don't disagree. Let's see. Spencer says, I think the Alliance HQ will also be helpful for alliances with high level and low level players because with his alliance, we have minimum requirement HQ 10 and 10K points for the alliance events. And yeah, that's a good point. And actually, that's a point that I wanted to make too. So with Alliance HQ, what I think is going to happen, also what should happen. So say you're in an Alliance family, and you go into some of those larger events, and you come out and you go help your lower levels. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it does happen. And because a lot of guys, even when these shorter events, guys want to go XP hunting, and so they'll go find some of these guys. If I was going out XP hunting, and I had the free time to go do so, I'd probably drop into that lower tier alliance and I'd donate some stuff to that lower tier alliance that I'm cool with, so that they can gain all of their alliance HQ stuff faster. So yeah, who knows? I don't think it's gonna be all bad. Benja Prime says pushing a few buttons doesn't bother him. Uh, its usefulness in return of time and investment that bothers me, and that's the key thing. Even myself, and I haven't spoken a lot of negative about Alliance HQ, but that's the thing that hits home the hardest. Is that if I'm gonna do something, I want it to be worth my time. Now, I will say, I do think that the return on investment for this is much better than the dispatch mission. However, the dispatch missions are gonna be, you can hoard things off of a dispatch mission. Um, just is it the stuff you actually want? But overall, I think it might be pretty decent for the game. I think we all agree the resource stuff is kind of meh. Um, the argument got made. There's no rookies in Prime League. I kind of just gave my opinion on that. That hey man, maybe there's some guys that we want to go into these top wars with that are good on offense, but for whatever reason, maybe they're a level behind or something like that, that you can hide up to 5 of those players and not have them hurt you on defense. I'm all for that. I do fear that the defensive piece, those defender roles are going to get a little bit dicey just because I feel that that could be problematic down the stretch. So you're also going to have, when you go to the alliance roles, you're going to have a spot for all of those just to be set up. For you're still going to have your commander and then your 3 officers, and then you can have your defenders, strikers, rookies, so on and so forth. Now, what I'm not sure of, and I'm not sure of it because we don't have all of the defender and striker roles unlocked yet on playtest, is can I have an officer fall into any of those other 2 roles? So that's a question I need to ask Space Ape. Probably when I wake up tomorrow, I'll be like, "Hey, I got an officer. Can my officer always be B4?" Because my officers are the guys that, from a strategic standpoint, help me run the alliance. So, yeah, let me know if you haven't already what you think about it in the chat. I'm kind of neutral about it, to be honest. I'm not overly high on it. I'm not overly low on it. It's another feature. It's another thing to do. Not something that I'm particularly looking forward to. Not anything that I'm just dead set against. So, yeah. All right. So, I promised my buddy. Mercenary Terror, I'd take a look at a combo for him. So he said that he wanted. Let me see. He said he wanted to look at Snapdragon. All right, so we got Snapdragon, and he said he wanted to look at it with Fracas and the Liege Maximo Core. And I see that Ian Anderson also joined the chat. Thanks for joining. And he says that a lot of people are going to get very lazy with base designs. Makes farming on them easier, though. Not sure what that will lead to. Yeah, and that's been happening for a little while, to be honest. Like it just has been. And even the good base designs, like everybody copies each other and stuff like that. So I don't know. All right. So let's see. Let me go see what I can add. Let me go add an Astro Train to this. And let me see what it is he was trying to accomplish. Because I think what it seems like is he still wants to, especially with these new Prime cores, to try to rush in your Snapdragon. And he's got decent damage. And then you'll just keep him up a little bit longer. Now, if you actually ran into, if I was on a stronger base that had like the Liege Maximal Core and stuff like that, he'd be able to withstand it. And I'll probably actually go to a tougher base in a little bit. But let's just look in there and see how he holds up. It seems to keep him upright pretty good. Well, at least for the time being. But then I let him die because I was sitting up there talking. So let's see how that will go on a tougher base. So let me use that same team. Now I'll actually stick him. I'll stick him in the prime zone. Okay, so that's why you were asking me, Terry. You just got the 4-star Snapdragon. Yeah, he's not bad. Shortly after he came out, they did nerf him a little bit. That was kind of aggravating. But for as far as 4-star bots go, he's still a pretty good 4-star bot. So for something like this, I'd like to see if I could just bring in Astro Train to give him. Yeah, and it's just taking him out a little bit too fast. Because, I mean, he did a little bit of damage. He did a little bit of damage, but ultimately, well, a couple of things, I can honestly find a lot of bots that I'd rather use Fracas on. But, yeah, he's not bad. And if you use that Leech Core, on him, he can definitely bypass that defensive Leech. So, yeah. All right. So, let's take a look at. I'm gonna take a look at the Autobot first. Let's take a look at Alpha Trion, and on let's see, on the Decepticon side we're gonna have Tarn. So there goes a look at Alpha Trion. It looks pretty well designed from an art standpoint. And then we'll get to see him there in his alternate mode. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think about the artwork they use for Alpha Trion. I think it looks pretty cool. I heard some folks in there saying, "Oh, okay, just a Scourge reboot or whatever." Nah, I mean, it's however you look at it. I happen to like the design, but I say I've been saying for a while. I say I like a lot of the designs that they make for the Autobots. And then we'll take a look at Tarn. I think he's pretty true. I think he's pretty true to form, at least especially in his bot form. Yeah, and they saying it in the chat too. Yeah, Grim Studios and Chris Armin in there talking about how they use the Scourge model. Spencer 394 says that he got some good 4-star bots from the Combiner event. Got Optimus Prime, Laser Optimus, and Rust Dust. That's pretty good, man. Mercenary Terrorist talking about Snapdragon and saying that he was campaigning for him for, I think it was Batch 11. All right, so now keep in mind, I'm going to give you this disclaimer. This bot is still in testing. So right now, this is what we're looking at. And so I'm going to actually throw my disclaimer up there on the screen. This bot is still in testing. But this is what we're looking at. So, and I told you guys a few weeks ago, it's probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, that we had this idea a while back ago of just giving like different elemental abilities or whatever when we were talking about Deathsaurus. So I think they might have took a similar idea and say, well, what if we did something with each of the bots classes? And so for the bot classes, what they're doing is for Tarn and Alpha Trion, they're gonna have a little bit of damage. They do really negligible, amount of damage. In this case, I got them maxed out, so 1,149. But all of the allies are gonna receive a boost. Now we're still trying to see what that percentage is gonna be. I think it's gonna stay at 40%. But for each class, it's going to give a different buff to that bot class. So for the warriors, you're going to get damage reduction. For the air class, you're going to get special ability damage for your special class. It'll be like think that's going to be ground damage. For gunners, it's going to be attack speed. Triple for your triple changes is going to be damage reflection. For your medics, it's going to be healing, all at the rate of 40%. It actually it's pretty cool. Now, when you look at it, his range is medium, so I'm going to say right out the gate, I'm probably going to give him a combat bot like Crater Maker or something like that. Or yeah, I'm probably going to give him Crater Maker, and the only reason why is like for me, for support type bots, I give him Crater Maker. I might actually go give him, everybody's always talking about Crater and Primal. You can do that, but I think it's just like, for me, it's kind of masking the fact that you're getting lower damage. But yeah, I'll run with that. And I'll actually just throw them in randomly with my war team and see what it looks like. So I actually like the support type bots. I think you can do some really good things with just like a bunch of different bots. So actually what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the base trial so we can see some of the differences. Chris Harmon made the comment that he needs more health. So he actually just got a health boost. He actually was right around 19 and 20k, I think it was. I don't think, and that's kind of the problems you run into with special class bots. They usually do have a really awesome ability. They're usually really limited on health, so you have to go in and it gives you something that you got to manage. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but that's the pattern that I've grown to see from Transformers Earth Wars. Grim Studio says it looks like he's going to be in the meta. Yeah, possibly. Spencer says some more of a support. Then I think that's going to be important in the long term because with damage, everyone is going to want the strongest DPS bots in general. Yeah, and that's already kind of shown itself. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use, since I got a warrior here, I'm gonna use him with Quella Gun. And one of my things I've been having a hard time with is keeping my Quella Gun healthy. So now with him getting additional damage time, and like he's right in the thick of things, and it's really taking him a long time to get killed when you go look at Quella Gun. Between me using his ability and having got the buff from Tarn. So I like that already. Usually at this point, like he's usually getting hammered. But it gave him a little bit of additional time, 10 seconds of time, to just sit there and just not get beaten to the ground. Robert C4 joined the chat and says, and it's not too late to give Tarn and execute from full HP targets. It's not. He's still in testing. We still got a couple of weeks. But yeah, I think we're kind of close to set on what we're gonna do with this bot. If I'm being honest. Hey yo, when I know Trap had to have been expanded. To your point, Joe, I think Trap was probably ecstatic just because, like, in the lore, like, he loves Tarn in the lore. So I was like, man, I had my fingers crossed. I was like, just for Trap's sake, I really hope this bot does something awesome. So hopefully, this is something that he use. Chris Harmon's like says that he, going back to the statement about the health, says, hey, he needs about 30k health. Um, he does. You're never gonna see that in this game. I don't think you'll ever see that out of a special class bot. The apes just aren't gonna do it. Unfortunately, because we run into this every time we go talk about a special class bot. Like I think you were in testing for a little bit when we were doing Scylla, and they just like, nah, man, like we just, it took them to change her into a warrior class bot. It took them changing her into a warrior class bot for them to ever even consider, for them to ever even consider giving her a health boost. Robert C4 says, and honestly, playtesters kind of agree with that. Triple change is gonna be legit. Triple change is gonna be kind of legit with this with Tarn. Yeah, yeah. They say and Chris is saying, and see, everybody always hits me with the onesies and twosies, right? So, Lugnut and Soundwave are over 30K, but they also made them with a specific purpose in mind. So, for a support type bot like that, they are gonna want them to use them for support. So, I just personally don't foresee them changing that. I mean, just off my experience in test. All right, so here what I'm doing is trying to look at some of that attack damage coming from my special class, but I keep running into bots that stun. But I do notice his attack boost is going up for Impactor before he wind up getting stunned. So that's pretty cool. Shoot, let me actually, since we were talking about Snapdragon earlier, and he's in the triple changer class, I'm gonna stick him back into this. I'm gonna stick him into this team and see what happens. Yeah, nah, but I get what you're saying, Chris. It's just like, hey, man, make some of these guys have higher health. So I just think the thing is like, and a lot of people, honestly, a lot of people just aren't gonna make that choice to go use this support type bot, like, period, and that's okay too. But at the same time, you're just gonna run into some of these issues where, like, if I had a support type bot and then he's a special class, his ability is gonna work on himself, and like I think they usually make most of their other abilities and stuff, most of their stats, kind of mid when you're dealing with a support type. Oh yeah, so I actually put Astro Train in there. That reflection, even though he's squishy, that reflection tore up some stuff really quickly. Hey, Mercenary Terrier said nobody's gonna tell him he chose Astro Train. Yeah, I thought about it after I actually got on the game screen. I just said I was gonna use Snapdragon. King Grimlock says Tarn is worth the chase. Opens up a lot of different options. That's a yeah. It's definitely give you some. It gives you some flexibility. Now, one of the things that's kind of irritating, because like for me, if you're gonna do the damage part of his ability, which they actually that was his ability 11, so the ability 11 that increased his it increased his damage. I don't really think that's worth much when you're doing like really low damage. But but no, Chris, no, you just stating your opinion. I was like, ain't nobody. I'm just saying from an experience standpoint of what I've seen in playtesting. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think they wholeheartedly should bring them up to about 30K. Hell, they can bring them up to at least 25. You know what I'm saying? Which is what we asked for. We asked for 25. But yeah, man. So I ain't gonna go through every class, but yeah, man. Just wanted to put the concept out there, just because the bot is coming out in 2 weeks. Everybody's got to start bidding on this bot. Uh, you got to know something, and right now, I always got people in my inbox. Well, when are we gonna know something about the bot? And I say, yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit tonight. Honestly, the bot's not finished. So I had a conversation with Space Ape before about like when I actually do bot reveals and stuff like that, or reveal new content from the game. Look, man, it's 2 weeks out, man. We gotta actually say something about that. So um, hopefully this is a good time for me to actually release it. But that's why I say I put that disclaimer up there. I said, look, I said this dude is still in testing, so he may or may not end up this way. But this is what we're looking at so far. So let me know in the chat what it is that you think. Yeah, and Big Blade also made the point like LOP has high health, and the thing is, so I think and I didn't really say it correctly when I was saying it earlier. I think with a special class bot, they always try to give them um, a certain function. So, like for example, and I skipped over that question by accident, but one of the things that we were looking at, and one of the questions I got asked is like, how do I feel about onslaught Skyburst? Um, it's okay, and it's okay because it's actually at a time when onslaught first came out. And that was pretty badass, to be honest. I mean, the dude would get out there and he was shooting over walls as a non-gunner, but I think they made him more as a gunner type combat. I think like LOP or something they made more as like, hey, it's a special class, so we can give him more health, I mean more DPS, but they made him more as a tankier type. Same thing with like Soundwave. They made him a little bit tankier because they had a specific function in mind. I think they got special class that like say like a crankcase and horse that can go crazy with the healing, and they're not a traditional healer, but you can get like a lot of healing out of them and stuff like that. So I think when you look at special class, you kind of somewhat subclass them into one of the other classes. And so for a support type bot like this, they're just like, nah, man, we ain't giving them crazy health. Even though the right thing for them to do probably would be for them to give about 30k health, like Chris was saying. Let's see. Big Blade says Death Source used to be the meta. Right, it's not anymore because of the massive damage and health jumps to the buildings. Yeah, and that's what they call power creep. That's what they call power creep. So yeah, you know. And Sunstreak Awaza just jumped into the chat. Thanks for joining, bro. Yeah, man, we was just in there taking the first look at old Tarn and Alpha Trion. But yeah, I think for what he's gonna do, he's gonna be pretty good. I haven't decided whether or not I'm gonna go for the 5-star or not yet. Uh, maybe the dude, I don't know, because I'm starting to get to the point where I'm kind of happy with my war team, and but I do see tremendous value in this bot. He can do so many things so well in his support role. I think he's gonna be awesome. But yeah, it is what it is. But all right, guys, I am going to end the stream. Thank everybody for joining. And I actually started some ideas for some content in the background. I want to start making some more long form content. Thank you to everybody that helped me get over my 500 subscribers last week. Uh, I started seeing a lot of people. Matt Polly put a lot of people, sent a lot of people this way. Venger Prime sent a lot of people this way. And I want to say like a day later, I had all the people I was supposed to have in there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I got my 500. I'm doing good on like view hours. So I just got to figure out because I was trying to go through YouTube to see how to go do my tier one monetization, and I just couldn't. It like my app was all jacked up, so I'm gonna try it again soon. So yeah, I really appreciate the help. But cool, man. As always, thank everybody for joining. I will see you guys next week, and I will also see you guys on the battlefield. Freezy is out.